So we're getting started in a little bit. Go ahead and share my screen. And second. So the most important thing about the real estate is pretty much the paperwork, right? Most people actually don't talk about the paperwork in detail, because if you don't know anything about the paperwork, then you don't know what you're signing, right? Every time you actually have a paperwork that you're going to work on, you want to make sure you understand the terms. But real estate paperwork is a little bit complex. So what it does is it actually allows you to understand everything in detail, how everything works. And most agents are busy. They don't do a very good job. So it's important for everybody to understand the paperwork. And I try to make the paperwork very simple, because when you're going to sign any legal contracts, you need to make sure at least you know the important things. You don't need to know every single thing about the paperwork, but there are some things that are important. So I have done a lot of work to make sure I cover those important things. Okay. So, but it's important for me to make this disclaimer. Um, so I'm not a legal attorney. If you have any legal advice that you wanted to take about the real estate paperwork, I'd recommend hiring a legal attorney. But since I've been in real estate for a long time, I do have some good knowledge that I can share. But it's important for me to make the disclaimer, so I'm gonna go ahead and make it. And why it's important to learn the paperwork, because as I said, you're going to sign something, you're going to get into a contract, you're going to buy a home, and if you don't know what you're signing, then you can mess up. Like for an example, sometimes some real estate agents are running all over the place. They're talking to 50 different clients, 100 different clients. They make mistake in the paperwork, and you sign the paperwork, and then now you're in trouble, because the only reason is you don't know what you were signing. You just said, okay, real estate agent was perfect. His computer, he cannot make a mistake. I mean, real estate agents do make mistakes. My paperwork get reviewed by 3 people in my team before I send it to anybody. So that we don't avoid mistakes. First, my assistant makes a draft, then I review it, then I send it to my brokerage. The brokerage said everything is good, go ahead and send the paperwork. That's what I do, so that we have less impact. So how to read the paperwork, that is something that I'm going to cover, and few important things that you need to know about the paperwork. Okay. But most important thing is you need to know who I am and why I qualify to actually do this presentation. If I don't qualify, then you shouldn't be listening to me. So I give about 2 minutes of introduction for every presentation I do. I started real estate about 5 years ago. I spent over $25,000 in education, where they didn't teach me anything, but just they gave me presentations. But I made a lot of money. I lost a lot of money in flipping homes, buying, selling, so auction, wholesale, retail, lease, options, contracts, many different type of investment strategies, buy and hold, fix and flip, assignment contracts, wholesale, all those things I've done. But the big thing was, when I started, I used to use a lot of realtors, and these are the things that they lacked. The first thing they lacked was they were not knowledgeable about disclosures and negotiating the price and terms, because they have actually, basically have written some exams, but they have not done real experience deals. So they can negotiate on my behalf. I mean, this is the qualities, like a lot of the realtors I work with had they lack these qualities. But I know some realtors who are my good friends, and they're very good people. They're very knowledgeable. But most of the realtors I work with have no time to return my phone calls and text messages. They're busy. They don't want to, call me back, and they're not proactive in it. They cannot make quick offers. For an example, if there is a hot deal, I want that property to be, I want to submit an offer today. They will take 5 days to submit an offer. By that time, the property is already gone. They are not good at making bids, lack patience to show the homes to me. If I wanted to see like 10 homes in order for me to make a good decision, they would show me 3 to 5 homes, and they will get tired, because I'm just looking at so many different homes, and they don't have patience to actually show me a lot of homes. They were too inexperienced to offer guidance on problems. Like for an example, if a home have like foundation issues or anything like that, they wouldn't really tell me until I find out later on after I buy that home. So I was upset, because the real estate agent should have let me know. But I mean, it's not their fault, because they don't have that knowledge. They lack passion in helping others, suggested homes that have problems, did not fit my criteria. Somebody would take my email address, send me 500 homes that have nothing to do with what I'm looking for. And I don't like that. And they didn't understand what I was looking for. So then later on, I became a realtor for myself, but I realized there is a need for other people in the market who actually need home as well. And that's the reason I started stepping out and started helping other people. So let me actually go ahead and share the other screen where I have paperwork ready for to share. And just wanted to let you know that we're also going live on Facebook as well. Okay, waiting for live video. I think it looks like it's not live yet. Let me make sure that, let me stop sharing. Let me make sure that video is live and you're able to see it. Sorry about that. 1 second. So my Facebook page name is Seattle Real Estate Community. As an admin, I only make one post, 1 to 2 posts a month. Everybody doesn't post there, so it's actually pretty clean. You don't get a whole lot of notifications. Whenever I go live on Zoom, I actually go live on Facebook as well. So just in case you have any questions, you can actually feel free to jump on Facebook as well. Personal message me on my messenger, and so just wanted to let you know on that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Looks like the Facebook Live is working. So yes, so just wanted to show you the Facebook group just in case. This is a Facebook group, and here I do post some questions. If you have any questions, you can inbox me through this group as well. I do go live there, and it's connected to my personal profiles. So whenever you actually have any Facebook, you can actually talk about that there. So here is the first form I'm going to go through is the real estate purchase and sale agreement. That is the important form that everybody should know about. This is called, and then it's kind of similar for condominium and single family, but in condominium you have like other things such as, you have like HOA, things of that sort, but you don't have that in HOA. So first thing is you actually put the date of the contract. For an example, you are going to sign a contract on October 31st. That's what it goes here. MLS number is a specific unique ID number that actually is associated with the property. And here is the offer expiration date. The tricky thing about offer expiration date is some agents don't know that offer expiration date puts some pressure on the seller. For an example, the offer is review on receipt and you are making an offer today and you put an offer expiration date of, let's say November 3rd. Okay, if I put an offer expiration date for November 3rd, the seller will have 3 days to collect more offers in order to review an offer and make a decision. So for all my buyers, I try to put an offer expiration date the same day. And this offer expiration can be changed as well. Let's say that if we are going to submit an offer today, I'll put the offer expiration the same day so that the seller will have the pressure. Hey, you know what? If offer is going to expire today, I better work on this offer and make sure I accept the offer. What I tell to my sellers is my buyer is looking at my buyer is looking at a lot of homes tomorrow. And if you do not accept my buyer's offer today, he might change his mind tomorrow, because we don't know, right? Every day, new properties popping up. So that's why I put pressure all the time on the sellers whenever I submit an offer from a buyer. Here, buyer name goes, here is another buyer name. You see the two fields. Sometimes what happens is buyer one and buyer two. Sometimes there are two buyers buying the home together as partners, but sometimes it is husband and wife. So then there will be buyer one and buyer two. So if the husband and wife buying together, then it will come as a married person. If the person is not married and he is actually buying a property on his name, then it will come as an unmarried person. But if the person is married and he's buying a property on his only name, and he's maybe the spouse doesn't work, so it doesn't probably matter if the property is on the spouse name or not. So maybe just the husband is buying on his name, or maybe the wife is buying on his name, her name, then it will come as married as a separate property. If a corporation is buying it, then a corporation name would go, like it could be like a religious organization or an LLC or a liability or a general partnership. So these are all the different terms. And then their legal information will go here, like property tax, parcel number, unit number, parking number, storage, property address, things of that sort will actually go over here, right? And then the most important thing is, if you see appliances in the home, that doesn't mean they come with the home. Sometimes there are washer and dryer in the home, but the seller left there just because they left there just for you to look at it. And they probably are not really serious about selling those to you with the home. So they will not be included unless it's been written on the multiple listing service. So you have to click if the washer and dryer, dishwasher, usually these are the things that come with the home, but sometimes these items do not come with a single family home. Um, Stove, generator, other item that comes is usually the garbage disposal. And another thing is, some of you who have never actually looked at the home, are not really looking for homes, or don't have much experience, it's going to be a little bit tricky for you to actually understand this paperwork, because that is something you have never done before. But people who have been in the real estate market, are familiar with the homes, will actually get some idea. So here you will put the purchase price. Okay, maybe the home is listed for $500,000. You're going to put $500,000 here, right? But maybe you want a better deal, you want to negotiate, then you put 595,000. But let's say the home has multiple different offers, 2 to 3 buyers are buying it, and but you wanted to go above asking price, then you can put $510,000, right? So these are the few things that will actually be in in there. And then second thing is, here will be earnest money deposit. Usually in Bellevue, East Side area, anywhere between the houses over $400,000, earnest money deposit is $10,000. Earnest money deposit will be $20,000 if the home goes about like $600,000, $700,000. The higher the earnest money, is more impressive. Earnest money is always paid by check, is paid to the closing agent. You are not supposed to pay earnest money to the seller, because the seller can take the money and they can run away. The seller could be fake or any person. Here is a title insurance company. If you don't know what a title company is a company which makes sure all the buyers and the seller are being identified, the paper is been in place, everything is good. Maybe there can be a scammer who says that this is my home, I'm selling it, or maybe he could just be a tenant and he could be selling his home to you, and you might pay him like $500,000 to his bank, and he might take the money and run away. Title insurance company will avoid that. He will make sure it's the seller who is selling the property. They will make sure the paperwork are transferred to your name. They will make sure the buyer is paid, the seller is paid. They will make sure the taxes are paid. They'll make sure the things are being taken care, like electricity past due is paid. And the earnest money will apply towards the down payment. Let's say that you're buying a $500,000 home. The down payment is 25%, which is $100,000. So that $20,000 would be subtracted by the down payment. So this earnest money is not an extra money that you're paying. It just basically will be subtracted every time you have to make a down payment or you're buying a home. Let's say it's a $500,000 home and you're paying $500,000 cash, and you pay $20,000 earnest money. On the day of closing, you only pay $480,000. That's how it usually goes. Okay, title insurance company will actually make sure that paperwork is legit, paperwork is being transferred, your name is recorded on the King County, whichever county you're buying on the website, all the money has been dispersed. They do all that paperwork. They take some money, but they do a very good job. Some of the major title companies I know are First American Title, Old Republic Title, WFG Title. So these are some of the biggest known title companies that are corporate chains, and they have pretty good people who do all the work. Second thing is, um, this is the FERB tile. I'll explain you a little bit if it's new construction or not. They will actually put yes or no there. Condominium assessment. Sometimes, okay, let me tell you about this thing. Okay, most people don't know about this. Charges, line 13, number 13, charges, assessments levied before due after closing. Assumed by the buyer, prepared full in the seller. Sometimes what happens, condominiums have associations called HOA. These associations sometimes do a major rehab. A major rehab is they're probably doing a work, or they're maybe changing the roof of the entire buildings, or they're maybe changing sidings, they're putting new plumbing. It might cost them maybe $1 million. However, they might only have $700,000 in their bank. So extra $300,000 they will actually take from the owners. So if you're an owner and there are $300,000 that need to be taken care, and there are 30 people, then each person will actually give $10,000. So that is called an assessment. So the assessments, I make sure the sellers pay it full in closing. But if the seller says that we have listed the home under market value so that the buyer pays the assessment, I make sure I call the buyer. I tell him, I hope you're okay. Let's say a real estate agent makes a mistake. There is an assessment and they put assumed by the buyer. Now the buyer have to pay the assessment. The buyer cannot say, well, I didn't know about it, because the buyer already signed the contract. So, but if the buyer says, well, I'm not going to pay and I'm going to cancel the deal, the buyer will lose the earnest money deposit. So it's very important the buyer to make sure that the assessments are being paid by the seller. Sometimes agents are busy, make sure they make mistakes. But since my paperwork gets reviewed by 3 people, including me, we actually avoid a lot of mistakes that other people do. So that is something you need to make sure that the assessments are always paid by the seller at the closing when you're buying a property. Okay, if you're selling a property and you have assessment, you want buyer to assume it, make sure the buyer have clicked that, buyer have assumed the property, assumed the assessments at the closing. So those are the few things that are important. Second thing is, every home have a resale certificate. Make sure that your agent sends you the resale certificate so that you see that this person have the ability to resell this home, and they can send you the resale certificate. Okay, condominium assessments. Okay, condominium assessments usually anywhere between $300 to $1,500 on an average. I see condominium assessments about anywhere between $500 and $600. Make sure that is in there, because maybe you're buying a home that is a very good deal and the condominium assessment is $900. Like every month you have to pay $900 HOA. So that might not be a good deal for you because you're just paying $900 towards HOA, right? So you make sure you actually look at the condominium assessment. Selling agent represents seller, buying agent represents the buyer. Here are all the different assessments that we attach. Okay, here are all the different agendas and all of those things. However, I have some buyers who actually go into a lot of details of this all legal mumbo jumbo that's in there. This is all the wordings, letters, and everything um, defined and added by the government, the state, the state realtor association, attorneys, their team of attorneys do all this. So when sometimes buyer says that, well, I have question about this, I'm not comfortable with this language in there. Well, you can't buy the home because they're not going to change it. This is legal for everybody. Everybody is have to go through all these things. What we can change are the blanks. Well, whether you want the price to be 500,000, whether you want the expiration date, whether you want to change the earnest money, those are the blanks that can be changed. Other things cannot be changed. Like it doesn't let me change it. If you want to change it, you would have to hire an attorney, pay 10, 15, $20,000, whatever, and have them fight with the realtor association or whoever is actually making this paperwork. And that will take a long time. So that's why I tell the buyers, like, let's talk about the things that actually matter. These are all the great things that you can read, but I don't have the ability to change any of these. Okay, because those are standard. If I change them, I'm probably going to get in trouble. Okay. So now let's talk about other supplemental documents that actually go with the earnest money. that will protect your earnest money. So one of the things that will protect your earnest money is called contingencies. The more contingencies you have, the earnest money is protected. One of the contingencies I always recommend to all my buyers who are actually taking a loan to actually put financing contingency in place. So what the financing contingency does is, just in case you have bought a property, you have signed the contract, you have paid 10, 15, $20,000 earnest money, and now your earnest money is being held at the closing company, and the bank says, well, we cannot process your loan because you actually have missed two payments like 2 months ago, and you have a derogatory mark, you have so and so in your credit, or you probably lost your job and you cannot actually give your recent paycheck to them. So what's going to happen? Your $20,000 is going to go away if you don't put financing contingency in there. But I make sure I add this form called 22A. It's financing addendum. What this says is, just in case for any reason the bank says they're not going to give loan to my buyer, my buyer's earnest money will be refunded back to him. Okay. So that is most important thing I actually make sure I do for my buyers. So usually it's conventional loan. You put whatever 5, 10, 15, 20% down. All these actually go default 5 days, 10 days, 3 days. These are all I use defaults unless the seller wants me to change. Sometimes the buyers don't have money to get the closing costs taken care, and they ask seller to give me like 1% or 2%, 3% towards their closing. Okay. But this doesn't happen in the hot market. Like, for an example, if the market is hot, each property is being looked by 20 different people and they're getting anywhere between 2 to 5 offers, and you submit an offer asking seller to pay you towards their closing costs, they're going to say, well, you know what, we already have buyers who don't even need that, and they're actually paying above asking, so we're not going to accept your offer because you're asking for money for us to pay towards your closing costs, so we're not going to give it to you. So usually you will actually lose the bid. So but if the market is not competitive, the property is on the market maybe for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and the seller is desperate, they want to sell, then you can actually negotiate these terms with them. That's what I do for my buyers. Sometimes, like, my buyer doesn't have money to pay towards the closing, we actually talk to the seller, hey, can you help us out? And that only applies when the property is on the market for a long time, seller is desperate and they just want to get rid of it, they're flexible with the terms. If the market is hot, the property is getting a lot of offers, they're getting a lot of attention, they're not going to do it. And all these are default. Another thing that's very important is appraisal. Okay. So I don't know if some people know about the appraisal or not. Let me explain you. Let's say you let's say there's a person called Mr. Buyer. Okay, Mr. Buyer comes to Washington and he doesn't know anything about the Washington. And there's a person called Mr. Seller. Mr. Seller property value is $700,000. Okay. But Mr. Seller knows that Mr. Buyer doesn't know anything about the area. So Mr. Seller will sell the property to Mr. Buyer for $1 million, which is 300,000 above the market value. So Mr. Buyer buys this property, they do a purchase agreement, maybe the real estate agent doesn't know about it, maybe the real estate agent doesn't want to tell the property is not worth because he just wants to make a sale and make the money. So Mr. Buyer signs the contract, they make the earnest deposit, everything is good. Then what happens? Bank will send a person to see if the home is worth $1 million or not. If the home is not worth $1 million and the home is worth $700,000, the buyer will be protected only if we put will not over here. If we don't put will not, then basically what that says is, you have to read the paragraph 7. If the appraisal, the buyer have to put extra $300,000 out of pocket. If the buyer doesn't do that, he will lose his earnest money. So in order to protect my buyer, I will always put will not here. You have to make sure your agent puts will not here. Some agents miss that, and that will cause big problems to the buyer if the appraisal is low. So if the appraisal comes $700,000, seller have two options: either reduce the price to $700,000 or cancel the contract and give the earnest money to the buyer. Okay, and the contract cancellation have to be mutual. Buyer and seller both agree to mutually cancel the contract. They have to request the buyer to cancel the contract. They will cancel the contract and they will move forward. So this one check mark will protect the buyer from losing hundreds and thousands of dollars. Okay, so that is very important in the financing. And the other things are default. We don't have to go into a whole lot of detail because I mean these are all the legal language. Maybe you have a lot of questions, you have issues, you can probably contact a real estate attorney, but you really don't have to. I mean, a real estate agent, someone like me, can educate you on some of those things. But if you really need legal advice, you want to make sure you contact an attorney. So a few more things I want to talk about. Another contingency is inspection contingency will protect you. Okay. So inspection contingency, most people actually think that inspection is something that we have to look into each and every single thing the inspector will actually take. I have a YouTube channel which says buying and selling with Abdul Rahman. If you actually go to YouTube, okay, um, YouTube buying and selling with Abdul Rahman, you can actually find a channel that I have, which will actually talk about all the different things. And you can subscribe to my channels. Actually, I used to have a lot of videos locally on my computer, on the cloud. I actually decided to put everything together on a YouTube channel. It's actually kind of really new, but it has all the information I actually put together. If you go to the video section, you can see some of the videos I uploaded. And one of the things I put, like how to inspect and read inspection reports, supposed to be read. And then I actually put in a lot of other materials as well. You can actually go and take a look at it, ask me any questions you have. Um, so that is something you have to make sure that you understand what inspection is. And it's actually about a 30-minute video that I cannot cover here. Then I will not have enough time to actually talk about the paperwork. So inspection contingency, if you put inspection contingency, usually is 10 days. Within 10 days, if you find a major problem in the home and you tell the buyer, this is a major problem, I would like to get myself out of the contract, I would like to cancel the contract, then your earnest money will be refunded to you. But if you put inspection as a waiver, then they will take your earnest money. So that's the thing. Your earnest money will be taken if you back out. So if the home, I would say, if you're buying a condo, everything is perfect and you cannot see any problem, it's completely remodeled, it's a small condo, then don't do inspection. But if you're buying a single family home and you see it, you might, it's a big home and there are thousands of things, then maybe do inspection. But if you want to be really protected, then do inspection for every single thing you buy. The only reason I say don't do inspection is, I mean, because I'm used to actually buying homes without doing inspection, because I used to be an inspector myself. Like, I mean, not really an inspector, but I used to buy and sell homes. Like, I used to sometimes buy like 2 to 3 homes a month. So when we're buying so many homes and selling homes, like, a car dealer who buys and sells cars, you probably know about the cars, right? So, but if you're a new buyer, you want to make sure everything is good in the home, do inspection. That will protect you. That'll make sure that you don't have any major problems. Okay. Second thing now we actually go is inspection, financing, contingency has been taken care. Now let's talk about the seller disclosures. Seller disclosure is something where seller will actually put anything that is wrong in the property. For an example, if the home has major issues, the seller will write there. Seller name will go, this is for the seller. Seller will fill everything, all these to be filled by the seller. The buyer will sign at the end acknowledging, if you see that the buyer initials are not there. So they will say, do you have legal authority to sell the property? Yes. Like, they will say, like, are there any boundary encroachment? These are some of the things you have to look at: encroachments and boundary agreements, disputes, and easement, and all those different things. Like, you have to actually, the seller will make sure he will fill all these things in. Seller will also write if there is any major problem in the home. Let's say, for an example, there was mold in the home. Seller did not disclose it. They painted the home and they sold the home. Then the inspector will not find that there was mold behind this wall. So what will happen is, the buyer will buy the property and they will find the mold after like 3-4 months. They will see, wow, like there is this mold, and the buyer will call the inspector, whoever is going to inspect the mold. The inspector is going to say, wow, this is an old leak. The seller just hide the problem, but they didn't tell us. So if the seller didn't write in the disclosure that there was a major leak in the home and the mold was there, but they hid the problem from outside, Then we can go back to the seller and tell them that you did not tell us about this problem. We're going to come back and actually take the money from you for all the repairs. But if the seller decide not to do the repairs, then you can use all this legal documentation and then sue the seller for not disclosing anything that was in the home that you were not able to see. So they have to disclose all these things. It's a lot of work for the seller, but seller really have to do a good job. If you're a seller, make sure you do fill these forms. Like when I have a seller, I will make sure they understand each and everything and they disclose everything so that they don't have any problems in future. I mean, we don't want the seller to just sell the home and later on the buyer comes back and asks for like 15, 20, $30,000, you know? So when I'm working with seller, I make sure seller is protected, and working with the buyer, make sure buyer is protected. That is the most important thing most people don't know about. They do not read these disclosures. I stress all my buyers, you know, make sure you just read it, make sure there's nothing major in there, and then you should be good. Let me talk about a few other things. Is pre-inspection report. Sometimes what happens is that a seller is getting 10 offers, but if you put inspection contingency, the offer can be weak because you can back out of the contract. So what some buyers do, they will do an inspection before making an offer, but you need to get a permission from the seller. You cannot just go and take your inspector in the home and start inspecting things. You have to ask the seller, hey, can we do pre-inspection? Most of the time, 99.9% of the time, seller will say, yeah, that's totally fine. Go and do a pre-inspection. They will do a pre-inspection, make sure the property is good, they have no problems in there. Then what they will do is they'll go ahead and buy the property without inspection because they have already inspected the property. That makes the offer more strong. Some of the other things are FIRPTA certification. This is actually for the seller. Seller will disclose if they're a foreign person or not. Sometimes there are people living in Dubai. They don't live in US. They're not a resident of US. They buy and sell homes in US. So something like that is a call a foreign person. So they will actually disclose. The buyer will just sign it, accepting it. Buyer doesn't have to do much. They just have to acknowledge it because the seller is going to disclose. And there are also usually like tax benefits and few things that the seller have to go through. Second thing I want to talk about, the identification of utilities. It's something that seller will say where the utilities is coming from. Some condo associations have water included in them, but some don't. So the buyer will actually know. For an example, like usually in condos, this is HOA, this is HOA, this is HOA, and this is HOA. Electricity is like, you know, Puget Sound Energy, PSE, something like that. But some HOAs maybe doesn't have water, so this is going to be PSE. Some HOAs also have gas. Gas is going to be PSE, right? But it's a single family home. Then there are going to be different associations where you're going to get the utilities from. So that's pretty much it for all the contracts and everything. One thing I want to talk about is the escalation. Okay, escalation is a little bit complex. Most people don't understand it very well, but I'll try to do a good job in explaining it to you. Okay, so what is escalation is basically if there are, let's say, 5 offers on a home, the home is selling for $500,000. Let's say one offer is 500,000, another offer is 505,000, another offer is $510,000, another offer is $520,000. What you will do in order for you to beat all those offers, you have to put escalation clause. Okay, so in escalation clause, what you will do is whatever offer is above your offer, you will beat that offer automatically by 2,000 or 5,000, whatever. Let's say your offer is $500,000 and you are actually working on another offer that is, let's say, maybe you're working on another offer that is probably, you can say maybe it's around 510, 515, 520,000, right? So what you will do is you'll actually make sure that your offer exceeds the other offer by 2,000 until a certain price. Like the maximum limit, let's say 530,000. If another offer was 520,000, your offer will be 522. If the other offer was 525, your offer will be 527. If the other offer was 528, your offer will be 530, but the other offer is 530 or 531, then your limit will stop there. You're not going to go above that limit. So it's called, like, you know, when there is a bidding going on, you can actually put this escalation. But let's say there are no other offers that came to them, then you actually buy the home for $500,000 instead of 530, because there is no other offer. So you don't have to beat any other offer. So that is something called escalation. And so this is this is basically pretty much it, which actually contains all the details and everything. And so, and also I want to talk about the current market stats. Okay. um, the current market stats, make sure the Facebook Live is actually streaming well. And I think it was actually showing the, okay, yes, streaming well. So another live stats I want to show is people actually make a lot of guesses. Oh, I think the market is slow. Oh, I think the market is fast. I think the market is stable. Well, I actually talk about, let's talk about real numbers. Okay, so one thing I have been doing is comparing um, a home value prices from last year to this year. Everybody, some people are saying, oh, due to COVID-19, all the homes are been dropping their prices. Or some people are saying, well, the mortgage rates are low, so in prices are increasing and more people are buying, right? But now we have real stats. Let's see. These are the King County stats that I've downloaded. These are the real numbers that are being taken by the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, which every single realtor actually puts a property there in order to sell the home on the market. So new listings in 2019 September was around 2,719. But in September, new listings increased. So there are more homes selling, and the pending sales, there are more. Closed sales, if you see in September 2019, about 2,000, under 2,000. Now it's almost like increased by about almost like 800, right? So when somebody say, well, I don't think anyone is buying homes, well, you can see, well, compared to last September 2019 and this year, people are going crazy. They're buying a lot of homes, right? Days, average days on the market, a home was selling 32 days. Now average home is selling in 19 days. Let's say if a new home comes in the market, it's going to sell it in 19 days. It's crazy. 32 days was actually crazy for a lot of people, but the moment the home comes in the market, it's selling in anywhere between 5 to 15 days. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, sales prices increased as compared to 2019 September, 2020 September. Medium sales price was $660,000. Now it's $755,000, almost $100,000 increase. It's crazy. And average sales price is $793,000. Average sales price is actually like $925,000, right? Percent of list price received. So people are getting over list price. If somebody's listing their home for $500,000, they're getting for 505, 510, $515,000. So that's what it is. The month supply. The only reason all this happening, I'll tell you this one thing. Okay, most people don't understand why the COVID-19 is there and property values are increasing. I'll give you a very good example. Let's say you're trying to buy a very rare fish. Let's say it's Copper River salmon, wild salmon, and you go to Walmart, you find tilapia there. You find tilapia everywhere because that's like the cheapest fish that comes from China. It's been farmed in China, or it's been bred a lot, right? But you can find Alaskan or Copper River salmon or something like that. Then because it's so rare, the value of that is increases. It's probably like $25 per pound. Or tilapia, you can maybe get it for like $3 per pound. So because it's rare, the value increases. That's what's happening here. If you see month's supply of inventory is 1.1 month. Like if today, from today onwards, everybody in the Northwest MLS, in the King County, decides not to sell their home, what that tells is entire home inventory will be gone in 1.1 month. No more homes will be available for people to buy. That's what will be the problem. So because there are only so less homes out there, there are more buyers looking at these homes, and they're buying more homes because the mortgage rates are low. People are buying homes, right? And because of, and there are less people selling. So if there are 10 properties and there are 100 buyers, each property has been looked by 10 buyers, right? But now it looks like there are 5 properties and there are 100 buyers. So the inventory is low. So each person is looking at, like, each home has been looked at by 15, 20 people, right? So that's what is happening. Same with the condominium as well. Condominium are a little bit different. There have been not very significant change. There have been a little bit difference there, but still the inventory is a little bit high in the here, and other things are there in place as well. So you can compare if you want. I can send you this report as well. I can email it to you if you want. So if you have any questions, anything, you can feel free to ask me right now or call me, text me, message me. My contact number is always there. You can call me, WhatsApp me, whatever, and I'll be there to help you out. So looks like there are no questions. So I will actually go ahead and close this thing out, and then I'll let you know if there are any questions or anything. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it.